Good morning, everyone. Today is April 14th. I'm Mr. Sheridan. This is Zoology. Hope you're all having a great day. We are going to start today by continuing our unit on nutrition. So I need you all to jump into our Google Classroom, and the first thing that I need to have you open up is your nutrition vocabulary. So actually, that's not true. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Let me figure out. Oh, I apologize. It's called the Ruminant Digestive. It looks like this. It's the Ruminant Digestive System Notes is what it's called. Lesson 2 - Ruminant Digestive System Notes. This is what you are going to be completing while I'm going through our presentation. So the presentation today is not laid out perfectly. I think we've talked about some of the things that are my pet peeves when it comes to PowerPoint presentations, as far as too much text or not enough bullet points or too much text on one particular slide. You're going to see lots of examples of that today. However, it goes through this notes page very, very, word for word so that you'll be able to complete this. This is what I need you filling out as we go through the presentation today. So we're going to fill out the first 2 pages of this today. We should be done in probably 15-20 minutes. And this is all that we're going to complete for today. So as we are going through our presentation, make sure that you have that document open. Again, it is this lesson 2 ruminant digestive system. So it is week 32, assignment number 67 that is due on Friday, because we are going to do the second half of this same notes page tomorrow. So I need you all to have that open and ready to be taking some notes. So does anybody have any questions about that or having trouble getting into that particular assignment? Okay. All right, then here we go. So today we are going to focus on the ruminant digestive system. We talked about yesterday there are 2 different types of digestion, or digestive systems, I should say. One is ruminant, which means that there are 4 compartments to the stomach in a less complex intestinal system, versus monogastrics, or so ruminants can also be called polygastric. And then we have monogastrics like humans and pigs that only have 1 chamber to their stomach, but have a more complex intestinal system. So our objectives for today, we are going to define the functions of ruminant animals. We are going to analyze ruminant digestive, the ruminant digestive system, and we're going to analyze the first 2 components of the 4 components in their stomach. So we talked about yesterday, we listed, and you should have completed a model of both a pig and cattle. So you got swine and cattle. I need a model of each of their digestive systems. That was due today. So you need to make sure that you get that done based on our first presentation, which that video is now posted. I apologize, it took me a while to get that up, but the instructional video from Monday, if you missed that class for whatever reason, is now posted. So you can go back and watch that, and you can see what I'm asking you to do in terms of that model. So we're going to talk about the first 2 compartments of the ruminant animal's stomach today. So this is where you need to be filling out your note sheet as we are going along. So the functions of the digestive systems of animals. Here's a list. This is what we're looking for. This is what the purpose is of the digestive system. First of all, to be able to eat, to be able to take in nutrients, to be able to take in feedstuffs. Chewing or mastication, make sure you pronounce that correctly. Chewing and mastication, making sure that which is a mechanical breakdown of that food that starts in the mouth. Being able to swallow. Deglutition. I don't think I've ever heard that word before, but deglutition is the act of swallowing, apparently, which is neat. Deglutition. The absorption of nutrients and the elimination of solid wastes or defecation. Deglutition. I'm still stuck on that one. Deglutition. All right, I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to make sure that you have your notes page filled in correctly with all of the blanks that are filled in on this page. Functions of the digestive system include ingestion, mastication, deglutition, absorption, and defecation. And here we go. Please don't hesitate to slow me down if I'm going too fast. Just raise your hand and we'll go back to the previous slide. The digestive system changes food nutrients into compounds that are easily absorbed into the bloodstream. Does this in two specific ways that we're going to talk about in both mechanical and chemical digestion. Hopefully, if we're able to get back into school next week, there are a couple labs that go along with these that will give us an idea of the difference between mechanical and chemical digestion and an opportunity to see at least what that is like a little bit. So we will go through that. Hopefully we'll do some of the labs that go along with these when most of us are in person. Okay, again, please stop me if I'm going too fast. Ruminants are those animals that contain a multi-chambered digestive system, meaning that they are polygastric, with poly meaning multiple, that allows the animal to gain the majority of their nutrient or nutritional needs from forages and other roughages. This includes cattle, sheep, and goats, deer, and elk. And for reference, forage refers to grasses, and roughages refers to other high fiber food sources. Meaning things like alfalfa, which is actually not a grass, but it is a high fiber food source. So forage and roughages are able to be digested by ruminants because they have this multi-chambered digestive system. They are polygastric. Our digestive tract extends from the lips to the anus. It includes the mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, and the small and large intestines. And obviously, in polygastric animals like ruminants, the stomach is a little more complex than that. There's a few different chambers that we're going to talk about today. And the accessory glands include the salivary glands, the liver, and the pancreas. On Monday, we talked about the liver and the pancreas a little bit. We did not mention the salivary glands, which are also a part of the digestive system. If you don't know what the pharynx is, we're going to define that here in another couple of slides. But that does go in the order of the digestive system. So first the mouth, then the pharynx, then the esophagus, stomach, and the small and large intestines. Again, I want everybody to be copying these down in that notes page. So if I'm going too fast, do not hesitate to either put something in the chat or raise your hand quick and I can slow down. So here's a picture of that. Obviously, this is a little fuzzy, but it does give you an idea of where all of these things are so that you can, just gives you some, this is a little more complex than the models that you would have made, than the diagram that was given on the first presentation that we went through on Monday. But it gives you an idea of some of the size and scope of some of these things. All right, so the digestive system of a ruminant animal includes the mouth, which grasps food, teeth that grind the food, but keep in mind that ruminants only have one set of teeth in the front of the mouth. They have bottom teeth, they do not have top teeth. So those teeth are designed just to grab, and they use their tongue a lot for this, to grab grass or whatever forage they're eating. And it's mostly those teeth in the back that they're molars that are doing most of the work. So ruminants have only one set of teeth in the front of the mouth that are called incisors, and they have two sets in the back, both top and bottom. Their tongue is covered with finger-like projections, which are called papillae, that contain taste buds. So similar to, I know we've all talked about in the small intestine that there are villi, there are finger-like projections. Well, our tongue has those same things. We call them papillae that, that contain taste buds. Okay, we're going to move on. Our salivary glands, located outside of the mouth, secrete saliva that moistens food and is mixed with the food material to aid in swallowing, which allows us this whole process to happen. The pharynx, which we talked about just a minute ago, is actually funnels the food into the esophagus. This is the flap that causes when we swallow our food to go through our esophagus and not down the trachea and into our lungs. This goes for both monogastrics and for polygastrics. In our esophagus is that food tube that leads from the mouth to the stomach. We talked a little bit about peristalsis on Monday, which is that muscular contraction that takes food from our mouth to our stomach. That's why you can, it's not gravity that causes food to go down into your stomach. That's why you can swallow upside down. It's that muscular contraction that, that allows us to swallow. Here's a very general diagram. This is very similar to the one that we saw on Monday of the ruminant stomach. You'll notice that there are 4 main components of the ruminant stomach. We are going to talk about the 2 R's today. We're going to talk about them in order. So the first component of the, or chamber of the stomach, is the reticulum. Then food material moves into the rumen, then the omasum, and then the abomasum. So we are going to talk about the reticulum and the rumen today. This is located on your note sheet as well. You've got some things to fill in. So when we talk about all 4 of those stomach compartments, if we split all of that into how much food material is in each one at a certain time, the big thing you need to take away from this is that the rumen contains 80% of the food. We're going to talk more specifically about the rumen here in a second, but it is crucial to this entire process. So we've got to know about the rumen. The reticulum is only 5%. It's the smallest. It is the first one. So we're going to talk about what it does and what its function is today. And then tomorrow we will talk about the omasum and the abomasum. So at this point, ruminant animals have a multi-chambered stomach. The reticulum is the first area where food is going to enter from the esophagus. It is a honeycomb-like interior surface. This part helps to remove foreign matter from food material. So you can imagine where cattle are typically eating, or deer or elk or whatever, but for this purposes of this particular class, we're going to talk mostly about cattle. When they're eating off the ground, they're going to eat some stuff that they don't, and they're just not super intelligent animals, so they're not going picking through the food. They're trying to get as much as they can wherever they can. So they're going to pick up some stuff off the ground that they should not eat, that isn't good for them. The reticulum's function is to sort some of that stuff out. So it is a honeycomb-like interior surface. It works like a filter. It's going to take some of that foreign matter out of the food material. And this is the first chamber of the stomach in the reticulum. We are going to see a picture of it. It's a little gross for some folks that aren't used to that sort of thing. So just be prepared for that. So cattle or ruminants in general are prone to hardware disease. So they swallow small pieces of metal, particularly when they're on large farms and that sort of stuff. If a piece of wire or a nail or a screw or a piece of old rusty piece of barn can fall into feed troughs, those things happen, the cattle are they're going to eat it. So it can irritate, or worse yet, pierce the lining of either their esophagus or their stomach or their rumen. So there are a lot of farms that actually, especially on dairies, are actually going to give their cattle a small magnet and have them swallow that will actually attract some of those things. So for instance, if that cow's going to swallow a nail or something like that, it might make it through her esophagus okay, but it might have a hard time getting through the rest of her digestive system without causing some damage. So they are going to, okay, Great, Donald. Thank you. I will go back to the last slide here for a second, but so we're talking about the reticulum here and its function, and part of the way that farmers can assist cattle in making sure that reticulum is doing its job is to actually have the cattle swallow a magnet that will attract some of the metal pieces they might pick up from around the barn, which can aid in the reticulum's function, which is grabbing that stuff and keeping it there rather than letting it go through the entire system. Donald, give me a thumbs up when you're good here. Perfect. Okay. So this ruminant is, or this reticulum, excuse me, is also a holding area for food, and it is the site of regurgitation. So keep in mind, we're going to talk about ruminants, every one of them, when they are resting, when they're comfortable, they will chew their cud. They will regurgitate a small amount of food matter and actually re-chew it. This is obviously, it's got to go from the rumen back through the reticulum and up through the esophagus into the mouth. So this is where that's going to happen as well. Okay, we're going to move on, but just like Donald just did, don't hesitate to let me know if we need to go back for a few seconds. So as you may have caught a glimpse of, this is the reticulum. We talk about a honeycomb-like structure. Well, there it is, folks. That's what it looks like. So this is designed to catch some of that material that cattle could eat that isn't going to get broken down and could cause damage to their system. It's designed to catch that stuff. So there's the reticulum. Okay, so ruminant animals, they're going to grasp mouthfuls of food and swallow it before it's chewed. So they wrap their tongue around a mouthful of grass. Remember, they don't have a top set of incisors. So they're going to wrap their tongue around that grass, clamp down in their teeth, and pull to break the grass at its weakest point, and then swallow. Very, very different from animals like, so we're talking about cattle here, but animals like sheep and horses and that sort of thing that have two sets of teeth will actually nip and cut that grass all the way down to the base. That's why you have to be very careful about rotating pastures, particularly when you're talking about sheep and horses, because they will take grass right down to nothing and they will burn it so it won't actually grow back again. Cattle, not so much, because they have to grasp that grass with their tongue and pull on it. They don't take it all the way down to nothing. There's a little bit of grass that's left there. So ruminants will chew their cud, meaning they'll regurgitate their food material and then grind it with their molars at a time when the animal is resting. So when they're comfortable, if there's stuff going on or they're, for whatever reason, spooked or stuff, they won't do this. But when they are resting and comfortable, they will chew their cud. So it's done until the food particles are small enough to pass through the reticulum and into the rumen. So again, another way to kind of re-chew their food, make sure that it's all small enough for them to swallow. We're going to move on, but again, please don't hesitate to stop me. Okay, so the rumen. So we talked about the reticulum, which is the honeycomb-like structure that catches stuff that's not supposed to be there. It also regurgitates material back up into the mouth so that the animal can chew its cud. Now we're talking about the rumen. The rumen is the organ that allows for bacterial and chemical breakdown of fiber. And when we're talking about grasses and stuff, monogastrics like us and pigs don't have the ability to break down fiber like ruminants do. We can't get all the nutrients out of those fibrous materials like ruminants can. It's because they have the rumen that allows for bacterial and chemical breakdown of that fiber. So the rumen has a very thick and muscular wall, and it fills most of the left side of their abdomen. So when you're looking at cattle from either the front or the rear, if they were having any sort of issue with their rumen, you would see them bloat on their left side. Because that is where the rumen is located, on their left side. So it looks like carpet due to the papillae lining the rumen. So you'll notice that that's very similar to their tongue. It's going to have that rough material because it has those finger-like projections that are very similar to what is on the tongue. The rumen is basically a giant fermentation vat. It's primarily digestion. It's the primary digestion site for ruminants. It's where microbial digestion takes place. It breaks down cellulose, simple sugars, and nitrogen containing compounds like protein. So it's actually breaking down cellulose, which is what we can't do. Monogastrics just can't break down the cellulose. If you look over at my plant cell, you can see on the board that that cellulose is that cell wall. It's the fibrous material that gives plant cells its structure. And us monogastrics can't break it down, but ruminants can, because they have this giant rumen that allows for it to ferment in the rumen. So there's physical mixing. We talked about how it's a muscular organ, and there's also chemical. So we're talking about mechanical and chemical digestion at the same time. So their rumen is not active in the early stage of life. I would imagine that you can draw that's because they are drinking milk. So they don't need to break down and ferment forages. So you'll see calves that are kind of mimicking their moms and learning how to eat grass and that sort of stuff. They can't digest that, right, when they're super young. So here's a picture of the lining of the rumen. You can see the papillae, our little finger-like projections that are lining that wall, that are absorbing and digesting nutrients that are being fermented in the lining, or in the rumen. Okay, so that is our presentation for today. So you should be able to define the functions of ruminant animals. We analyzed the ruminant digestive system, at least the first two components, and that's what we did with the first two components of the digestive system of ruminant animals. We talked about the reticulum and the rumen, what their function is and what their purpose is. So with that, I will ask for any questions. Anybody have any questions? Does anybody need to see any of those slides again? If not, I will wish you all a great day. We're going to come back here tomorrow and do the second half of our presentation and talk about the last two components of the ruminant stomach. Hope you all have a great day. See you tomorrow.